Bernie Sanders is in. I realize he's the main topic a lot of nights, but the attacks on him by Democrats now are getting to the point of ridiculous. Ridiculous. For example, I'm sure you all know Joan Walsh, formerly of Salon, now I don't know what she does. She's a frequent guest on MSNBC. I have no problem with Joan Walsh. I think she has been a devoted and devout liberal. She is a Hillary Clinton bot, but I'll get to that in a moment. Robert Reich has some advice for Bernie Sanders supporters. This comes from Reich's Facebook page. This is what Reich wrote. Many of you who support Bernie ask me what you should do at this point. Now, the reference there, of course, is that Sanders is behind in the delegate count. He's being squeezed by these ridiculous superdelegates, and the Democratic Party establishment has tried to destroy his campaign from day one. Reich writes, my suggestion: continue to work like hell for Bernie, especially given upcoming primaries in California and New Jersey on June 7th. Putting aside superdelegates, the difference between Sanders and Hillary Clinton isn't huge. So far, Bernie has won nearly 10 million votes and has 1,499 pledged delegates. Hillary Clinton has won 13 million votes and has 1,771 pledged delegates. California could make a huge difference. Don't demonize or denigrate Hillary Clinton. Too late, Robert. If she wins the Democratic nomination, I urge you to work like hell for her. She'll be the only person standing between Donald Trump and the presidency of the United States. Besides, as I've said before, she'll be an excellent president for the system we now have, even though Bernie would be the best president for the system we need. That's a hell of a sentence right there. Never give up fighting against the increasing concentration of wealth and power at the top, which is undermining our democracy and distorting our economy. That means if Hillary Clinton is elected, I urge you to turn Bernie's campaign into a movement, even a third-party movement, to influence elections at the state level in 2018 and the presidency in 2020. And there's a little bit more, but he is making the pragmatic suggestion, obviously, where it concerns Sanders and Clinton. Now, I want to go from that to Joan Walsh. And Joan Walsh is, and I think she may have published this at the Nation Online, I'm not sure. Anyway, there's so many things in what I'm going to share with you right now that are pretty, for me, they produce an awful lot of revulsion where it concerns what is being said. Just like I was shocked the other day when the New York Times, it was yesterday, New York Times had a story or a headline. Actually, here's the headline. Bernie Sanders wants to hurt Hillary Clinton's chances of beating Donald Trump. And the opening sentence in the New York Times front page above the fold, where they fucked up the other day about Trump and his woman last Sunday. That was just absolutely ridiculous. But this is the opening, or the beginning sentence. Senator Bernie Sanders is opening a 2-month phase of his presidential campaign aimed at inflicting a heavy blow on Hillary Clinton in California. Jesus Christ, why don't we just go into some violent language for Bernie Sanders, who's never had a streak of violence in his life, nor have his supporters? I'll tell you, this determination by the power structure, the Democratic power structure, especially in this country, to get Hillary Clinton elected, is it's awesome to watch. Now, I heard lots of times, usually from right-wingers. That's why I didn't pay any attention to it. I don't believe they told me it's dark out right now. I'd say you're out of your minds. But the right-wingers have been saying for a long time that the Clinton machine has a lot of power. And to me, that's just griping bullshit from these right-wingers. What do they know? But as a stopped clock is right twice a day, I think the right wing is correct on this one. All right, now, having said that, this is Joan Walsh, Salon, MSNBC, big-time liberal, and Clinton supporter. Bear with me on this, because some of this I've got to quote for you directly. She says, it's been 5 days since the conflagration at the Nevada State Democratic Convention, and the embers are still burning. Now, my note right there is WTF, question mark. Conflagration? I mean, go ahead, Joan. Use some incendiary, pun intended, language. I can get away with that shit, Joan Walsh, because I do a podcast. You are writing. Oh, this was this in Rolling Stone? I don't even know. But you are writing. And every single freak goddamn right-winger is going to pick up on this. But let me go on. The embers are still burning. Much of it has singed Senator Bernie Sanders. The intimidation of speakers and the misogynist death threats against party chair Roberta Lange have led to a wave of critical pieces by Bernie supporters, some of them now former Bernie supporters. You want to name one, Joan? Former Bernie supporters. Conflagration. Embers still burning. Son of a bitch. She's not writing about the Fort McMurray, Canada fire. She's writing about the hosing that Sanders and his delegates took in Nevada, the state convention. But let me go on. Sanders' loyal CNN backer, Sally Cohn, wrote this in Time magazine, quote, I feel the burn, but the bros are extinguishing the flames. Esquire's Charles Pierce, who voted for Sanders, said Tuesday, quote, it's time for Bernie's people to calm down. That doesn't sound like an ex-Bernie Sanders supporter, does it? In the pages of the Sanders fanzine Salon, notice the little slam there, huh? The fanzine Salon. You used to write for him, Joan. A Sanders fanzine. God damn. In the pages of the Sanders fanzine Salon, at least 2 Bernie supporters have written that it's over. Who? For them, the mayhem in Las Vegas has doused the burn. Much of the media has reacted with shock to the Nevada chaos, and Sanders surrogates have faced tougher grilling on cable news than they have for the entire campaign. Now, you understand what's going on here. The Democratic power structure has been on this man's ass since day one. He was like Trump in that the Republicans thought, oh, fuck Trump. He's going to have his little moment, get a little more notoriety, he'll be gone. Surprise, surprise. And with Sanders, it was much more serious than that, because a Hillary Clinton presidency is in the cards. It's in the stars. It's been promised by God. It has to happen. It's Hillary Clinton. Her old man was getting blowjobs when she was just trying to be a dutiful first lady. It's her time. But the Sanders camp is defiant, Walsh writes. with the senator himself condemning the threats and reports of violence. But, and then she adds this, and you never add but to a sentence that's condemning threatening behavior. But Sanders insisting party leaders had it coming because convention rules were less than fair or transparent, with quotes around the word transparent. This is really a hit piece. This is a much worse hit piece than what the Times had. She goes on, Sanders has continued to rip the Democratic Party for unfairness, and his supporters are now telling reporters there will be trouble at the convention in Philadelphia over the, and she puts this in quotes, rigged primary process. Do you get the drift here? I'm sure you do. Charles Chamberlain, who's the executive director of the liberal group Democracy for America, told MSNBC, quote, when you lose a fair fight, then you're sad and disappointed. When you lose a rigged fight, then you're angry and you hit the streets, end quote. I don't see anything wrong with that, do you? She's busting him for saying that. She goes on, he predicted, quote, disruption, end quote, in Philadelphia, and then he went off a cliff. That's how Joan puts it. He said, quote, I think a little bit of disruption is exciting. That's democracy. The reality is, without that, all you have is boring parliamentary procedure and everybody falls asleep. So I think it's exciting and it's actually healthy, end quote. You have a problem with that? I don't. A little bit of disruption is exciting. That's democracy. Yeah. I think what Walsh wants is a coronation. Or what she wants is what the Republicans always deliver to their candidates. Lockstep agreement, be quiet, sit down, stand up, wear your funny little hat, blow your funny little whistle, applaud when Hillary takes the stage. Nah, I don't think so. So Joan goes on, disrupting, quotes, a party convention because parliamentary procedure is, quote, boring, seems the height of entitlement. What? You know, I never knew that Joan Walsh could write like this. And then there's this. This is her, what are we? Let me see. We're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 paragraphs in. She writes this. Let me stipulate that the, quote, Democratic establishment, end quote, isn't blameless in this mess. I understand the anger and even fear of Nevada Democrats, but the local party's letter to the DNC charging that there's, quote, a penchant for violence, end quote, in the Sanders campaign was histrionic and only escalated the conflict. You know, at that point, I was saying to myself, Joan Walsh, stop writing, turn around, read your last sentence. Turn around and read your last sentence. And then she says, I get it, colon, after Clinton supporters were forced to walk a gauntlet. Now listen to this. After Clinton supporters were forced to walk a gauntlet of shame in East Los Angeles, screamed at by angry Sandernistas. Well, fuck, Joan. Why not just say Sanders communists? With bullhorns who even bullied children. After protesters crowded Clinton's car on the way to a fundraiser. And now, after Nevada, there's growing concern about an apparent mob mentality that can cross the line into physical harassment, if not violence. Would you call these loaded sentences? Now, Walsh offers not one crumb of proof that it was Sandernistas who were screaming at Hillary. I have a feeling it might have been Trump people. Trump is a disruptor. He's a goddamn con artist. He's a Hitlerite. He will do anything to make it look like it was a Sanders operation because he knows he's going to get cooperation from the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is putting its filthy life on the line to make sure Hillary Clinton is the Democratic Party nominee. And Trump also knows that Sanders will kick his ass. He further knows Trump, will kick Clinton's ass. So what better way than this fifth column shit where you send a bunch of people? How many times have we seen this? Remember the vote counting in Florida in 2000, and all of a sudden these concerned citizens showed up and started beating on the doors and stopping the voting count, intimidating everybody. Who were they? They were Republican Party operatives. Give me a fucking break here. But I digress, and I'm cussing again. I'm sorry.